Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our latest and greatest AMA session. We are coming to you live from General Headquarters in Aurelia. And a lot of people don't know, but this building actually sits on the ancestral lands of the Chippewas of Rama. Beautiful area, tons of history here. If you've never been, please come and visit. We have an awesome museum. Stop in and see us at General Headquarters. I apologize for starting a bit late. We had some technical difficulties, but our amazing team in the background, specifically Sarah Bryant, who makes all this happen, figured it out, and it turns out I will take the blame. My volume was not up, so if anyone wants someone to blame, it was Vinny's fault. As we go through, if you have questions, we encourage you to put them up in the chat. We will try to get to them. If you're asking about questions on our process and stuff like that, or where to find information, details on applying, a lot of that stuff is found at opp.ca. opp.ca is that resource where we want to encourage you to go. But as we're speaking with our special guests, and if you have questions that you want me to ask them, please put them in the chat and we will do our best to get to them. I have very special guests today. We got Constable Vuk Lazarevic. Am I saying that right? Vuk, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Vuk? Okay, I think we have. Can you hear me at all? I don't know if we've got a technical problem again. I don't think that Constable Lazarevic can hear me. Can you hear me? Stand by. We're going to work out some details. While we're working on this, let me call him. You tell me when. Okay, I think we've worked out our technical problems. Can you hear me now, Vuk?
Yes, I can.
Okay, excellent. You know, it's one thing you can always count on. It's people in this organization are awesome. It's the technology that lets us down
Yeah.
sometimes. And, but again, I want to give a shout out to Sarah Bryant, who is always there to catch it when something goes wrong and fixes the problem. Amazing, amazing people in the background. And they're who makes all this very, very possible. So if you didn't hear my introduction, I've got Constable Vuk Lazarevic. Am I saying that right?
You are. You are.
Yeah, you'll accept that. Are you okay with me
Yeah,
just calling you Vuk throughout the interview?
100%. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Now, there's so much I want to talk with you about because you've got such an interesting background. I understand that you're from Bosnia. Can you tell me
I
a bit
am.
about coming from there, where you landed here in Canada?
Oh yeah. I guess back in '95 there was a civil war that happened in the '90s, and at the end of the war, '95, we came to Toronto. I mean, culture shock. It snows over in Bosnia, but it doesn't snow all that much. So we came, and I just remember snow up head height. I mean, I was very small, but head height snow from Toronto for I can't quite remember, maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, and then to Kitchener since '95, and until I moved to Elliott Lake, I've been in Kitchener.
Well, it's funny that you're saying there was a lot of snow when you were in Toronto. If you go to Northwest region, where when you get to that far end, where one of our recruiters, Lisa Lawrence, I want to give a shout out to. I know that she's a big supporter of these EMAs, and she's probably watching right now. They would tell you that snow would reach the top of your head as a grown man,
Yeah.
not as a little child, right? So it's kind of funny when people talk about having a lot of snow in Toronto. I'm like, really? You have no idea. But
Yeah.
okay, so you come from Bosnia, you end up in Kitchener, 1995. So when I was at the OPP Academy, you were arriving to Canada. You just made
Yeah.
me feel really old, Vuk,
Oh
putting things
goodness.
in
I'm
perspective.
sorry.
So you grow up in the Kitchener area, and I know you went to high school around there. Now, I understand that you also took police foundations after high school. Can you tell us where
Mhm.
you went and what the program?
Conestoga College. The police foundations, they had two separate ones. There was a security portion and the police foundation portion. I took the police foundation portion back in 2009.
So in 2009, you go to Police Foundations at Conestoga College. Is there a team that you cheer for? You want to give them a go, whatever's, or
Oh goodness, I can't remember their name. I can't remember. My
we'll
brother
just say,
actually played for them last year. I can't remember
we'll
the
just
name.
say, go Conestoga. Conestoga, great college. They're one of our college partnership. The OPP partners with colleges around the province that have police foundation programs. Conestoga is one of them where we regularly go visit their police foundation programs and try to recruit for the OPP. Now, since we're talking about police foundations, I want to remind everybody police foundations is not a prerequisite to apply to the OPP. A grade 12 is the minimum requirement, but there's a lot of people that have different types of post secondary education. I'm a fan of the police foundations just because I like the way the programs are structured. They really prepare you for the academy, right? You wear a uniform, there's accountability, you keep a notebook, and. But I want to talk some more about you. Your police foundations. Um, when you graduated and from when you applied to the OPP, how long in between?
Oh goodness, I graduated in 2011 and I applied in 2019.
Okay, so what did you do in between, and why didn't you apply right away?
Um, my mom, she told me, I don't think you're ready yet. She told me, I don't think, you should go get a little bit more life experience, work, go to university. So I went to university after. Um, I was in cemetery funeral sales before joining the OPP. And one day I just woke up and went, I'm ready. And I applied, told my mom, and she's like, yeah, you were ready a little bit ago, but here we go. Here you are.
Well, and that's important to mention that because we always tell people to apply when they're at their competitive best. And if you know that you're not ready, then definitely I would say to people, ask yourself, why am I not ready? What do I need to work on? A couple questions. By the way, it's the Conestoga Condors. Somebody in the
Condor.
chat
Yes, I saw
filled that
that.
in. So thank you for filling that. Um, and somebody's asking about the pin test. Yes, when you do the pin test components, you do them one after the other. There's no big breaks in between. I would say, however long it takes to tie up your running shoes, when you're done your push-ups and that, then you're going to be going to do your run. So here you are. You apply. What was that like? From the time you applied to the time you got a phone call offering you a job, how long was it?
I was surprised at how fast it was. I applied mid to end January and I got a call in July. I remember
Wow.
being just ecstatic.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this: the uniform recruitment team for the OPP is a fine-tuned machine. You're seeing one little piece here when we do these AMAs. There's a whole army in the background doing the processing, doing the interviews, doing the background checks. It really is an amazing team of people, and we have it down to about 2 to 5 months from the time you hit send on your application. It's about 2 to 5 months by the time we call you to offer you a job. And I'm very proud of that we have streamlined our process and we're very efficient with it. So I tell people, make sure that when you apply, you're ready. Like Vuk said, you weren't quite ready because I've seen people like, oh, I'll be ready when they call, and we call way sooner than they expected. So that's good to hear. You went to the academy. Tell us a bit about what you thought about OPC. What was that experience like?
It's there's a lot of learning, which is you learn things that you wouldn't expect to learn. A lot of the subject matter you'd expect to learn, but it was nice. I liked the training part of it. You know, you have a good camaraderie. You have guys, not only guys and girls, the females, the males, the camaraderie between all police services together. You create a bond with people. It's nice when you create bonds with not only just brothers and sisters with the OPP that I still communicate with, but also from TPS and other places that uh, we met. But just, learning how to drive a vehicle the way the police would, DT. I love the fighting portion, so all the stuff, everything. I enjoyed my time at OPC.
That's great. I did too, and I often say to people, I mean, where else can you go to get paid to learn how to drive, how to shoot, how to do defensive tactics? And for those that are wondering, every police officer in Ontario has to go to the Ontario Police College. OPP officers, on top of that, go to the OPP Academy, which is here in Aurelia. Now, can you tell us a bit about your OPP Academy experience? Because altogether, I think you spend 9 to 10 weeks at the OPP Academy.
Yeah, it was around there. The bonds that we created at OPC, they strengthened at PPA. We had smaller platoons that we would go into across. There's that tunnel underneath O'Grady to go to PPA, which in the summertime is very hot. So I'll never forget that. Um, there's, again, lots of learning, and the different driving avenues and the shooting avenues and the DT that the OPP has, and I enjoyed that part of the stuff. I like learning hands on. Um, it was very enjoyable, and the people that I met, you'll never forget them.
Absolutely. The friends that I made at the academy are still some of my best friends today. Class 244, that was my class, and we get together every year. We've had a reunion every year. We've never missed one. We'll be doing our 29th reunion this September.
No
So,
way.
yeah, and those are all from bonds and friendships that were made at the academy and at the Ontario Police College. Now, when you finished your academy, you graduated from OPC, you graduate from the OPP Academy, you were posted in Elliott Lake. Now, a lot of people won't know where that is. Describe Elliott Lake to me. Where is this place?
You go 2 hours west of Sudbury. It's between Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie, about 20 minutes north on Highway 17. Um, Beautiful area. The north, I'm from the south. I always thought, the south has beautiful, it's, Niagara Falls. But the north it's got something to it. The lakes, I'm a 5 minute walk from a beach. The lakes are everywhere. There's so much water. That's the way I can explain it best. Down south, flat. Here, it's more mountainy, surrounded by water. So when I go on a hike with the dog, it's there's always something to see. You're never bored.
I grew up in Northern Ontario, so I'm a big fan of Northern Ontario. And somebody's asking, how does it work for the OPP to choose where you want to go? When you apply, we ask you to pick 6 locations. And I always encourage people to research the locations that you choose. If you're just picking randomly. What inspired you, someone's asking, to apply for policing? And I'll add to that, and then to ask to go to Elliott Lake.
What inspired me? I've always wanted to be a police officer. There was something. I come from a family that has a policing background. Not so much policing back home. My mom did work with law before the war, so policing was always on my mind, even as a kid. I've always had policing on my mind, but I wanted to wait till I was ready.
Yeah.
Up here, physically, everything. I wanted it all to be together.
And where was Elliott Lake on your list of postings? Was it
Uh, Two or three,
so
two.
you got your top? You were within one of your top 3 choices.
Yeah,
There's some people say, what would be the best choice for the North? Those are decisions that we really can't make for you
that's true.
because it's a very individual choice. But you sounds like you really love working in Elliott Lake. Can you describe what would be a typical day on patrol in Elliott Lake for you? What does a shift look like there?
In this, it varies on the season. In the wintertime, um, it's very icy, so the roads are covered with salt, not salt, dirt. It can be busy. We deal with everything. You get to work and everything. There's never a shortage um, of calls that might make you think that it's going to be boring. There's
So
always something.
you've got a good mix of general
There's a
patrol
variety.
and traffic, you'd say,
Oh yeah, there's a
service
variety.
call. What's the population roughly in Elliott Lake where you
I'd say 12,000 roughly. The board says 11,500, but I think it's closer to 12.
are? Well, yeah, I would say those signs don't change very often, right?
No.
Like who keeps track? That would be a full-time job. Eh? It's like, okay, four people died today. Oh, but two babies were born. And you got to go change the sign every day. Um, in speaking about when you were getting ready for policing, I know that one of the special skills that you have, you're very much into fitness and you study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Can you tell us a bit about how that helped you? What was the thing about that?
I had a main focus of fitness and running. I know that running is a big part, especially with the pin and the shuttle run. But I'm someone that likes to work on weaknesses, and running has always been a weakness. So for months before, I would just go and do the 1.5, 2, 3 times a week, as fast as I can. Sometimes not as fast as I like, but I try to work on it all the time with the weightlifting, training other things. But running was on the top of the focus list to try,
Yes, it is one of the key things, and it is something that can make or break. Level 7 on the shuttle run is non-negotiable. That's the minimum. I always tell people don't aim for that, aim for higher. And yes, I can confirm that you do not need your OACP to apply to the OPP. Someone was asking us that. Now, fitness was a big component for you in getting prepared. It's the one I would say it's the one piece that can cut you pretty straightforward, like pretty quickly. Now that you're on the job, and you've been on the job for 4 years now, roughly, do you continue with your fitness, and do you think it's important?
oh yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Um, because it's easy to sit down and feel, oh, I'm tired. Every day, it's, but you got to go because you can get into the habit of, oh, I'm tired. I'll maybe tomorrow. But if you just take a step, go for a hike and continue to work on to work on the fitness aspect of it. I'd say it's very important, not just physically but mentally.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I think the two go hand in hand, actually.
Yeah.
Mental fitness and physical fitness are definitely connected. I'm a big advocate of fitness and of the fitness pin. I encourage every officer to get their pin every year. Someone is asking about progression when you're up in Northern Ontario, and I'm going to touch on that a bit later. I want to
Mhm.
kind of follow the pattern we're on here. Um, would you consider that your jujitsu is a special skill? Did you put that down on your application?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good because often people, I find, sell themselves short with that. When we talk about special skills, it could be anything like, martial arts, like Vuk is doing. It could be somebody that has special skills. Maybe you're good in math. You have a mechanics license. You have your smart serve license. Maybe you have a business degree. So many of these special skills or different skills are relatable to policing. And people have to realize policing has changed so much that it's not just about being tall and strong and play hockey. Like it was back in the 60s. You play hockey, all right, you can be a police officer. But there's so many special skills that come into play. And I always tell people, I encourage people, don't sell yourself short. Worst case scenario, we might go, wow, that's not that special. There was someone that applied years ago, and I think they're on the job now. I'd put down that they could drive standard as a special skill, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cute, But you know what? You've got nothing to lose at listing what your special skills are. Tons of questions that are popping up here about being out in Elliott Lake. People that are asking about different. So in talking about that, because you're in Elliott Lake, and I know work-life balance is something that is important to you. Can you tell me, how do you find it being in a northern town, a remote or isolated area? Is that good for your work-life balance? Has it helped you in that area?
Um, yeah. Well, I have a dog, and my fiance and I we go hiking. I train every morning, and I'll train physically, not just BJJ. But the downtime with family is important. Just hanging out, going to the local marina, going to the beach because there's so many out here. You can go to the
Yeah.
beach every day. It's just even in the wintertime. Yeah. So
That's
there's
there's a lot to be said about work-life balance and having some peace in nature. You
yeah,
mentioned a lot about the lakes and the outdoors with your dog. You don't have to drive very far. You actually you don't have to drive. You could just walk down the street.
100%.
Yeah. We've got a lot of people asking questions about could hobbies be considered a special skill like photography? Absolutely. Absolutely they are. And people are looking for tips on how do you prepare for the shuttle run. That I would say use Google. There's all kinds of apps and training apps, advice out there. People have different tricks. So, if you're looking for information on how to get ready, a lot of information can be found on the internet and on our website. Again, I want to remind people to take advantage of the resources we have at opp.ca. All kinds of links there to give you some helpful guides, whether it has to do with fitness, with nutrition, how to be competitive, lots of frequently asked questions. I will probably answer a lot of the stuff that is coming up on our chat. Now, when we talk about work-life balance, I come from the field, and I think maybe our goal is I came from the ERT and canine side where you're on call 24/7. And I would say there's a time and a place for those jobs. I know people that I was on ERT with that at some point started to raise families, and it was time to step back from that on call type of position. What's your thoughts on that? Because I think if you can tell us a bit about what your family life plans are.
I feel like the family life is important because it keeps you grounded. Having family here at work, it's similar but it's different. When I finish up work, I say put the cape. You put your cape up and go home and speak to your family. Hang out to ground you because there's you see and deal with certain things that just brings you down to that earthly level. So I think that life work balance is important to try to bring you down to almost like reality. It's a
And
weird.
I completely agree with you, though. I can tell you that in those years that I was on call 24/7, it was busy, there's a lot of excitement. But often people will say, I bet you missed the action. I'm like, actually, no, I've had plenty. You know what I enjoy now is sleeping all night, not getting called out. And there's a lot to be said about that. And that's one of the beauties of an organization the size of the OPP. There's so many different positions and specialties that a person could go into, which, don't involve being on call 24/7. There's all kinds of specialties that still provide you a normal work schedule. One of the questions that came up, what type of volunteer work is beneficial? Any volunteer work. Vuk, did you do any volunteering before you applied to policing?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was coaching a soccer team, coaching boxing, just anything to get involved with the community.
And that is great. So when somebody asks, like, is there something better than another? There really isn't. Volunteer work, just like Vuk just said, getting involved with your community. How are you giving back just to make the world a better place? It's giving of your time for nothing in return, but just because you want to help. Now, you were involved in coaching. Some people are involved with food banks. Really, the sky is the limit. Think outside the box. One of the messages I always pass on, if you have nothing, you just don't know where you can get started to volunteer, take a drive around your neighborhood. I guarantee you there's an old age home or facility or type of establishment. Go present yourself and ask if there's anyone lonely that would benefit from having coffee once a week. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find somebody there. And you can make the world of a difference just by having a cup of coffee with somebody once a week. It's little steps like that that gets you more involved. Now, do you still practice jujitsu? Do you volunteer with that? Do you coach in that?
I'll help. I'll help coach, but I'm not. I don't coach on my own. I've just evolved. I was actually on the mats this morning at six
Oh,
thirty.
good. Somebody's asking what belt you are. What
It's
belt?
I'm still a white belt. I've been a white
Still a
belt for a
white
bit.
belt. All right. Well, you know what? And I remember I studied kung fu years ago, and people wanted to race up the belt, but they say your first and your last are the most important ones. and you should
Yeah.
never forget where you started. So going back now, when we're talking about, so here you are in Elliott Lake, you like the work-life balance, you like the community. What are the future goals? Where do you see yourself going from here? Is there anything jumping out at you, thinking that you like your work-life balance? Is there any specialized unit or type of job you're thinking about?
Oh, goodness, I would love to do something like ERT. Um, POU, I did the course for POU. I like that. I like the physical aspect of the job. But as far as now, it's just what I have right in front of me. I'm still learning the job. I'm still learning. I don't want to think too far ahead to trip over my feet. So I'm trying to master what I have now to be as good as I can at the job right now before I go into a specialty unit like crime, let's say.
And that's a great plan. So that tells me also that you still enjoy frontline policing.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
we tell people 3 to 5 years on the front line in uniform is the minimum before you can go into a specialty. But as I could see from Vuk, he loves being a frontline police officer. I did it for 9 years. I enjoyed it. I often say it's the best kept secret. Working the front line is the best position in the OPP. There's such a variety of things that you can do. So it's really a neat thing. Now, if you could have a wish list of what you think maybe down the road, is there a specific unit you're thinking about?
Oh goodness. Uh, I wanted to do ERT, canine, or true, but family for me is the most important thing. So anything that allows me to have my time with my family in the future, um, I'm open to almost anything that allow me to learn. I like learning.
Well, it's good. And I like that you have the mindset that I'm willing to learn. I'll look at everything and anything, but family will not take a back seat. It's something that's important to you. Someone is asking about shift scheduling. What is the shift schedule in Elliott Lake? What kind of rotations are you working?
We're on a 5-5-4. So what that means is I'll work 5 days, whether it's 2 nights, 2 days, 3 days, 2 nights, 3 nights, whichever variation of that. 5 days off, 4 days on, 5 days off, and then 5 days on, 4 days off. That's how the 5-5. And we start at 6 and end at 6, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So that's the one where you have every second weekend off, right?
Yep, yep. Or 2 weekends off in a row.
Okay, so 2 weekends off, then you work one or two?
2 weekends work, 2 weekends off, and then it
Okay.
just rotates.
So I worked a lot when I was on the front line, the 4 and 4, which is
Right.
2 days, 2 nights off 4, which gives you a series of weekends off in a row, I think three, but then you end up working for 3 weekends. So there's no standard schedule across the province, but at most detachments for the front line, for one, it is 12-hour shifts, and it's often one of these two schedules that we're talking about. Seem to be the two common ones, or the two that I know about. If I can ask you a personal question that someone was asking,
Yeah.
how old are you?
35.
35. Okay, so 35, you started your career at 30, 31. So that's good. You yeah,
Yeah.
you're at a good age. This is good and it's inspiring for a lot of people that watch, because some people think that, you got to be young right out of the box. Some people say, "Oh no, you can't get hired till you're older and you have more life experience." I can tell you that the average age that we're hiring, I'd say, is between 21 and 35. That seems to be the average. But there's some people that have been hired at 20. I've seen people in their 40s, even their 50s get hired.
Right.
It's all, age is just a number. It's all as long as you can meet the standard and meet the fitness level that's required. Now, if you could look back, and we're looking back in a positive way. Hindsight is always 2020, right? We say, "Oh, if I could do this over again," and this is more like to help candidates that may be watching that are thinking of how to prepare. In hindsight, is there anything that you would have changed in the way that you were getting ready to apply for policing? Is there, something you wish you would have done differently, or?
Oh goodness, you're putting me on the hot seat.
Oh,
Um,
if this is hot, wait till you get the next question. You're gonna
oh
boil.
goodness. um, to be honest, I'm not sure. I tried to follow everything accordingly to try to make sure I had the best possible application to go in. If I could, I wish I applied sooner.
Okay.
That's my only. I wish I had applied a year, maybe 2 years earlier.
Well, I know you mentioned that you wanted to make sure you were ready. So that says volumes too for people watching. Have a plan, have an idea. Okay. And you have to be honest with yourself. Am I ready? I want to remind people that we have a self-assessment tool on our website at opp.ca that really helps people to assess themselves in all the areas of assessment, where you give yourself a score and you have to answer honestly. It will help you to decipher whether or not you're ready to apply. Someone is asking about what's better about OPP versus municipal. I'll give you two big things. One, we have the whole province as our playground. One of the beauties of the Ontario Provincial Police is that you could literally travel this whole province without never ever really changing jobs. Whereas if you work for municipal service, you're working for that police service for your 30 years. Our service just extends the whole province. So maybe, halfway through you want to go up north. Maybe you decide, what, kids are older now, I want to go here. I want to get into this unit, so I'm going to move closer to that area. So we really have that big advantage of having the Ontario province. The other thing, and I say this often, our gear and our training is second to none. The Provincial Police Academy is recognized across North America. This organization is recognized on a world stage. And I've been to the States for different events, and let me tell you, our gear is the envy of other services. We are very well equipped and we're very well trained. I would say it takes two things to be good at anything. One, you need the right gear, and two, you need the right training.
Yeah.
And the OPP is really come a long way and leads the pack in a sense when it comes to those things. I'm obviously maybe a little bit biased when I answer that, but that is the truth. I'm just looking through the chat here. Somebody interested in becoming a detective. That the opportunities are endless. Make sure you go to opp.ca to look at that. I'm not going to talk about the new collective agreement or that somebody's asking about that. How many times did you apply before you got on, Vuk?
Just the once.
Just the once. Wow, hey, you're a one-time ringer. That is awesome. I'd say to people, if they've applied and they didn't get on right away, don't get discouraged. A lot
Yeah.
of people applied once, twice, 3 times. I applied twice to get on the job, and the big key message in that is if you applied and you weren't successful, make sure that when you reapply a year later, that you've improved yourself. You've become more competitive, right? If this doesn't cut it, don't resubmit the same thing next year. Probably won't cut it again. We look for how people have improved, how they've grown, how they've matured when people reapply a second time or a third time. Just as we're getting ready to wrap up, last words I'll ask you. If you could give any advice to someone who's getting ready to apply, you're on the street and someone says, hey, I want to be a police officer. What advice would you give me? Because that's a lot of people that join and that watch these are in the process or thinking of applying, and they look to officers like you to get, okay, what's your 2 cents? What advice would you give?
Don't give up. Don't give up. If you think that oh, I don't know if this is good, just keep going. If you think your fitness is down, get running. If you think that your volunteering is down, as Sergeant Hicks said, the local food bank, just go volunteer. If you think something is lacking, just go do it, but don't give up, because it's easy to say, oh, you know what, I think that this isn't gonna, it's not going my way. You don't know until you know. So just go and don't give up. That's
That is great advice. It's the same advice that I heard our commissioner give to a group of people at an information session once. And that's probably the best advice. Don't give up. And like Vuk said, if it's a certain area that you need to work on that area. If it's somewhere else, use that self-assessment tool to help you discover how you can improve. We're going to wrap up, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. If I didn't get to your question, I do apologize. OPP.ca is your number one resource where you're going to find a lot of the answers that you're looking for. I'd also encourage you to follow us on social media. We are always posting stuff out there. We have Sergeant Kerry Schmidt right now who's traveling the province. You can try and follow him. He moves quickly, let me tell you. You can follow his journey on Instagram, I believe, and other social media platforms. We are hiring. We're always hiring. And when people say, oh, when is a good time to apply? Any time is a good time to apply when you know you're ready. And just like Vuk, ask yourself, am I ready to do this? Maybe ask somebody else that's close to you, hey, do you think I'm ready? And you might find out, you know what, you should work on this a little bit. But uniform recruitment, your uniforms are downstairs, they're ready, they're good to go. We're just looking for the people that are willing to put in the time, put in the effort, like Vuk said, that people that won't give up. We look forward to seeing you at an event. Make sure you visit, again, opp.ca. All our upcoming events are on there. Follow us on social